The stainless steel coffee urn hit the marble floor with a sound like a small explosion. Its lid tore loose. Dark liquid burst across the lobby, steaming as it spread toward a little girl who stood frozen beside a row of chairs. Her mother screamed her name. People jumped back. A phone fell. Someone shouted for security. But the man closest to the child did not move away. He dropped a worn leather folder, crossed the floor in 3 strides, and pulled the girl against his chest just as the coffee reached her shoes. He turned his body to shield her. The hot liquid struck his sleeve. His face tightened, but his arms did not let go. 10 minutes earlier, that same man had been told he did not look right for the company. His name was Ethan Walker, and he had arrived that morning asking for only one thing: the interview he had already earned. What happened after the accident would force one of Chicago's most successful companies to decide whether its values were real or merely words framed on a wall. Before sunrise, Ethan had stood in the kitchen of a small apartment on the west side of Chicago, trying to make an old Navy jacket look newer than it was. He brushed lint from the shoulders. He pressed the collar beneath a stack of books. Then he polished his shoes at the kitchen table while the radiator clicked behind him. "You're going to wear a hole through those," a sleepy voice said. Ethan looked up. His 9-year-old daughter, Lily, stood in the doorway wearing star-patterned pajamas. Her hair leaned to one side, and she held a purple crayon in her hand. "These shoes, and I have an agreement," Ethan said. "They keep going if I keep pretending they're new." Lily considered that. "Do they know about the crack on the left one?" "We don't discuss that before important meetings." She smiled and climbed in the chair across from him. For almost 2 years, Ethan had moved between temporary maintenance contracts, overnight warehouse shifts, and small repair jobs. None lasted long enough to offer health insurance. None paid enough to stop him from choosing which bill could wait. Before that, he had spent 15 years supervising facilities for hospitals and manufacturing plants. He knew electrical systems, emergency planning, preventive maintenance, and the difficult art of leading people who were usually noticed only when something stopped working. Then his wife, Anna, died after a short illness. Lily had been 7. For months, she woke at night calling for her mother. Ethan left a job that required constant travel and accepted whatever work allowed him to be home when his daughter needed him. He never regretted choosing Lily. But choices could be right and still be expensive. There had been mornings when Ethan stood outside a temporary job and watched younger supervisors read instructions from manuals he had once helped write. He never told them that. Pride did not pay rent, and resentment did not make Lily's breakfast. He repaired what they assigned, signed his timesheet, and went home. Still, each short contract made the next interview harder. Employers saw the gaps before they saw the reason for them. They asked why a former operations supervisor was changing light fixtures at night or unloading trucks on weekends. Ethan answered honestly, but he could always feel the moment curiosity became suspicion. Kensington had seemed different. Daniel Brooks had asked about the gap, listened to the answer, and then spent nearly an hour discussing emergency generators and maintenance backlogs. For the first time in a long while, Ethan had ended an interview feeling that someone had examined his ability rather than his misfortune. The interview at Kensington Global was his best opportunity in years. The company needed a maintenance operations manager for its 40-story headquarters. Ethan had completed 2 phone interviews, passed a technical screening, and received excellent feedback from the operations team. That morning was supposed to be the final conversation. Lily pushed a folded piece of paper across the table. "For your pocket," she said. Ethan opened it. She had drawn 2 figures holding hands beneath a purple sun. One was tall and wore a blue jacket. The other had hair that looked like fireworks. Above them, in careful block letters, she had written, "Good luck, Dad. Tell them what you can do." Ethan read it twice. "I think your sun is falling out of the sky," he said because his voice had suddenly become unreliable. "It's rising," Lily corrected him. "You just have to look at it the right way." He folded the drawing carefully and placed it inside his jacket. At the door, Lily hugged him. "Will you be home for dinner? Even if I have to walk. And you'll tell them what you can do?" Ethan smiled. Every bit of it. By 9:45, he stood beneath the glass towers of Kensington Global. Employees flowed through the revolving doors in dark suits, and polished shoes. Inside, the lobby rose 4 stories beneath a ceiling of steel and glass. A cafe occupied one corner. A long reception desk faced the elevators. On the wall behind it, 3 words appeared in brushed silver letters: respect, excellence, integrity. Ethan straightened his collar and approached the desk. The receptionist looked up. She was young, perhaps 25, and her badge read Maya Chun. "Good morning," she said. "How can I help you?" "Ethan Walker. 10 o'clock interview with operations." Maya searched the schedule. "Yes, I see it. One moment while I print your badge." Before the printer finished, a woman in a gray suit crossed behind the desk. She was speaking rapidly into a headset. "The executive tour arrives at 10:30, she said. "I want the lobby clear and every visitor accounted for." Maya turned. "Ms. Grant, this is Mr. Walker. He's here for the facilities interview." Melissa Grant stopped. Her eyes moved over Ethan's faded jacket, the worn portfolio, and the repaired seam near the toe of his shoe. The inspection lasted no more than 2 seconds. It was still long enough for Ethan to understand it. "The manager position?" Melissa asked. "Yes," Maya said. Melissa lowered her voice, but not enough. "Operations said the person would meet senior leadership." "I've completed the preliminary interviews," Ethan said. "Daniel Brooks asked me to be here." Melissa looked at him for the first time. Mr. Brooks was pulled into an off-site meeting. "I wasn't notified. It happened this morning. I'm happy to wait." Melissa glanced toward the front doors, where 2 executives were entering with a group of clients. "That won't be necessary," she said. "We've decided to continue with candidates whose presentation is more aligned with the role." Ethan did not answer immediately. Maya looked from Melissa to the screen. "But his appointment is still confirmed." Melissa's expression hardened. "Please mark it canceled." The word appeared on the monitor while Ethan watched. "Canceled. Not rescheduled. Not delayed. Canceled." "May I ask whether the operations team made that decision?" Ethan said. "Recruiting manages the process," Melissa replied. "Did they review my final assessment?" "Mr. Walker, I have a client delegation arriving. Maya can validate your parking." Ethan's jaw tightened. For one instant, he imagined telling Melissa about the nights he had kept a hospital running through power failures. He imagined opening his portfolio and placing 15 years of evaluations across the desk. He imagined pointing to the 3 silver words behind her and asking which one she believed she was practicing. He was angry, not loudly, not dangerously, but deeply. Then his fingers touched Lily's drawing inside his jacket. "Please email me confirmation that the company canceled," he said. "I'll need it for my records." Melissa seemed surprised by the calmness of the request. "Of course." Ethan looked at Maya. "Thank you for trying to help." She lowered her eyes. "I am sorry." He nodded once, turned, and walked toward the revolving doors. Behind him, Melissa resumed, speaking into her headset. The clients crossed the lobby without ever noticing the man who had just been dismissed to protect the company's image. Ethan was 6 steps from the exit when he heard metal strike stone. At the cafe, a new employee had been guiding a service cart around the edge of the seating area. One was caught on a raised strip of flooring. The cart twisted. A stainless steel urn slid sideways, struck the floor, and broke open. The employee tried to catch it and fell. People moved back as hot coffee spread across the marble. A woman near the cafe reached for her daughter, but another chair blocked her path. The child did not run. She stared at the steaming liquid coming toward her, as if her feet no longer belonged to her. "Evelyn," her mother screamed. Ethan dropped his portfolio. He reached the girl, lifted her, and turned. Coffee struck his left arm and the side of his jacket. Pain flashed from his wrist to his elbow. He held the child higher and carried her beyond the spill before setting her on an empty counter. "Look at me," he said. The girl was crying, but her shoes and legs were dry. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. Her mother reached them and pulled Evelyn into her arms. "Thank you," she said. "Oh God, your arm." Ethan looked down. The wet sleeve clung to his skin. "Maya," he called toward reception, called building medical, and asked security to close this area. The authority in his voice cut through the confusion. Maya grabbed the phone. "Kill power to the cafe outlets closest to the spill," Ethan continued. Nobody step into the liquid until we know the cart didn't damage a cable. One security officer started toward the cafe. Use the other side, Ethan warned. The floor is slick. The officer changed direction. An elderly janitor hurried from a service corridor, pushing a mop bucket. His badge read Samuel Harris. He stared at the broken urn and went pale. I reported that floor strip, Samuel said. Twice. He bent to pick up a piece of metal with his bare hand. Ethan stopped him. Gloves first. The edge is sharp. Samuel looked at Ethan's soaked sleeve. You're burned, and you're about to be cut. Gloves. The building nurse arrived with a first aid bag. Ethan tried to step aside, but she caught his wrist gently. Sir, that sleeve needs to come off now. The girl. She's safe. Sit down. This time Ethan listened. Maya brought scissors so the nurse could cut the fabric away without pulling it over the burn. Red skin ran along Ethan's forearm. It was painful, but the nurse said it appeared superficial. You need to keep this cooled and covered, she told him. And if it blisters badly, you see a doctor. Ethan nodded. Across the lobby, Evelyn slipped free of her mother's arms and walked toward him. She held a damp piece of paper. You dropped this, she said. It was Lily's drawing. One corner had landed in the coffee. Ethan accepted it. Carefully. Thank you. Evelyn studied the two figures beneath the purple sun. Is that your little girl? It is. She draws like me. She'd take that as a compliment. The child looked at his bandaged arm. Did it hurt? Ethan considered lying. Yes. Then why did you do it? Her mother started to apologize for the question, but Ethan smiled. Because you didn't have time to wait for someone braver. Evelyn thought about that. Then she placed a small star sticker from her shirt onto the dry corner of Lily's picture. For your burn, she said. On the 38th floor, Claire Kensington was halfway through a monthly safety review when a lobby alert appeared in the operations screen. The director of security replayed the incident from 2 camera angles. Claire watched the service cart catch, the urn fall, and the crowd pull back. Then she watched Ethan run forward. Who is he, she asked. A visitor, the security director said. No active badge. He enlarged the image. Ethan's interview folder lay open on the floor. His name was visible on the top page. Daniel Brooks, the head of facilities operations, leaned toward the screen. Ethan Walker. Claire looked at him. You know him. He's my final candidate for the maintenance manager position. Then why is he walking toward the exit at 10 o'clock? Daniel checked his phone. His expression changed. The interview was canceled 8 minutes ago. By you? No. Claire returned her attention to the video. The replay continued. Ethan gave instructions, protected the wet area, stopped Samuel from handling sharp metal, and finally allowed the nurse to treat him. She noticed something else. The janitor had said he reported the raised strip twice. Pause there, Claire said. The security director stopped the recording. I want the work order history for that floor, the inspection record for the cafe card, and the name of the person who canceled Mr. Walker's interview. Daniel was already moving toward the door. And Daniel? He stopped. Make sure the child is cared for. Then ask Mr. Walker if he'll remain long enough to speak with us. By the time Daniel reached the lobby, Ethan was standing near the exit, with a temporary dressing around his arm. Mr. Walker. Ethan turned. I'm Daniel Brooks. We spoke on Tuesday. I remember. Daniel looked at the cut sleeve and then at the damaged drawing in Ethan's hand. First, thank you. Evelyn is the daughter of one of our employees. She could have been seriously hurt. She wasn't. That's the important part. I also learned your interview was canceled. I did not authorize that. Ethan's expression did not change. Ms. Grant said recruiting made the decision. Recruiting had no basis to make it. Daniel took a breath. Our CEO would like to apologize personally and continue your interview today. Ethan looked toward the wall clock. It was almost 11. I can't today. Daniel seemed surprised. I promised my daughter I'd pick her up from school. With the train delays, I need to leave now. We can send a car. I appreciate that. But I'm not prepared to interview with a burned arm while half the building discusses what happened. There was no hostility in his voice, only a boundary. If the operations team still believes I'm qualified, Ethan continued, you have my number. Daniel nodded slowly. We do. Then call me after you've decided whether you want to interview the man in the resume or reward the man from the lobby. They're not the same decision. Daniel had no quick answer. Ethan extended his uninjured hand. Thank you for coming down. Then he left. Claire listened as Daniel repeated Ethan's words upstairs. He was right, she said. Melissa Grant sat at the far end of the conference table. Maya had been asked to join by video from reception. Samuel Harris sat beside the security director, still wearing his maintenance gloves. On the screen were 2 work orders. Both described the raised floor strip beside the cafe. Both had been marked low priority. The first was 6 weeks old. The second included a note from Samuel. Cart wheels catch here. Someone will get hurt. The cafe cart inspection was also overdue. Claire looked around the table. This was not one person's mistake. No one moved. A recruiter judged a candidate without reviewing his work. A safety warning was downgraded without inspection. A maintenance employee raised the same concern twice and received no response. She turned to Melissa. Why did you cancel the interview? Melissa held herself rigidly. We had senior clients arriving. Mr. Walker did not present like someone prepared to meet executives. Did you read his assessment? Not before I spoke to him. Did you know he had already completed 2 interviews? Melissa hesitated. No. Then what did you evaluate? Melissa looked down at the table. Claire did not raise her voice. You evaluated a jacket. The words sat between them. Melissa's face flushed. I made the wrong call. Yes, but the system also allowed you to erase a final interview with 1 click and no written reason. Claire turned toward Daniel. That part belongs to leadership. Daniel nodded. Including me, Claire said. She ordered an immediate safety inspection of the cafe and all public areas. Every open maintenance warning would be reviewed. Interview cancellations would require a documented reason and approval from the hiring manager. Melissa would be removed from candidate-facing work while human resources investigated the decision. What followed was not a performance. It was an examination of uncomfortable facts and specific responsibilities. Before ending the meeting, Claire looked at Samuel. Why didn't you escalate the second report? Samuel gave a tired smile. To whom? That answer troubled her more than anything else she had heard. Claire looked again at the work orders. Both contained timestamps, category codes, and automatic closure notices. On paper, the system appeared efficient. The lobby report showed 98% of tickets processed on time. Processed, Samuel said when she mentioned the number. Not repaired. Daniel asked why no one had raised the difference during earlier reviews. Samuel removed his glasses and cleaned them on the edge of his shirt. Because the people in those meetings see the percentage. The people down here see the floor. Claire had spent years asking executives for measurable results. Now she saw how easily a measurement could become a hiding place. The dashboard had not lied. It had simply answered a smaller question than the one leadership should have asked. Ethan reached Lily's school 3 minutes before dismissal. When she ran toward him, her smile disappeared at the sight of his bandage. Dad, what happened? A coffee urn, and I disagreed about where it should be. Are you hurt? A little. She noticed her drawing in his hand. The corner was stained brown, and a silver star sticker shone near the purple sun. Who put that there? A girl named Evelyn. On the walk home, Ethan told her about the accident. He left out the sound of her mother screaming. He left out how close the coffee had come. He did not leave out the canceled interview. Lily listened without interrupting. Did you yell at them? She asked. I wanted to. Why didn't you? Ethan thought for a moment. Because being angry tells you something is wrong. It doesn't always tell you what to do next. Are you still angry? Yes. She seemed relieved by his honesty. Good, she said. I would be too. At home, they heated canned soup and split 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. Halfway through dinner, Ethan's phone rang. He recognized the Kensington Global number. You should answer, Lily said. It was Claire Kensington. She introduced herself and apologized without defending the company. Then she explained what had been discovered about the ignored work orders and the canceled interview. Mr. Walker, I would like to invite you back tomorrow, she said. Not for a ceremony. For the final interview you were promised. The operations panel will evaluate you under the same criteria prepared before today. Ethan looked across the table at Lily. And if I perform poorly, he asked, then we won't hire you. The directness surprised him. Claire continued, "But you will be heard. Whatever the outcome, the company will reimburse your travel and medical expenses. That is not a favor. It is our responsibility." Ethan was silent. "I need to know one thing," he said. "Was the janitor's warning real?" "Yes." "And are you fixing the process that ignored it?" "We started today." He looked again at Lily. She nodded vigorously. 10 o'clock. Ethan asked, 10 o'clock. The next morning, Ethan returned wearing the same jacket. The burned sleeve had been neatly repaired with dark thread. It did not disappear. Neither did the experience attached to it. Maya stood when he approached reception. "Good morning, Mr. Walker." This time, his visitor badge was already waiting. "Mr. Brooks will meet you in the operations conference room." She hesitated. "I should have challenged what happened yesterday." Ethan did not rush to make her feel better. "Next time," he said, "ask one more question before you follow an instruction that feels wrong." Maya nodded. "I will." The interview panel included Daniel, the building engineering director, an HR representative, and Claire. Melissa was not present. Daniel began with technical questions: emergency power, contractor management, preventive maintenance, incident response. Ethan answered carefully. When he did not know a number, he said so. When a question lacked enough information, he asked for it instead of guessing. The HR representative turned to the employment gap. "Your last permanent leadership role ended almost 2 years ago," she said. "How would you address concerns that your management experience is no longer current?" Ethan had expected the question. "The equipment changed faster than the principals did," he replied. "During temporary contracts, I worked under 6 different maintenance systems. I completed updated safety courses at night, and I learned what it feels like to receive decisions from managers who never visit the floor." He paused. "I lost the title. I didn't stop solving problems or leading when people needed help." The engineering director studied him. "This position supervises 43 employees. Some have been here longer than you. How do you establish authority?" "I don't begin by establishing authority," Ethan said. "The company can print my authority on a badge. I begin by establishing whether my team can trust my decisions. And if they challenge you, then I listen long enough to find out whether they're protecting the building or protecting a bad habit. Those require different answers." Daniel wrote something in the margin of his notes. Then the engineering director placed a thick incident file on the table. "This is based on a real failure at another property," she said. "A 20-year-old cooling system is producing intermittent alarms. The replacement budget was denied. 3 contractors have offered 3 different explanations. What do you do first?" Ethan did not open the file. "I speak to the technicians who work beside it every day." The director raised an eyebrow. "Before reviewing the data? The data tells me what the system recorded. The technicians may tell me what it failed to record." He opened the file and began reading. For 20 minutes, the panel challenged his assumptions. Ethan drew a simple failure tree, separated safety risks from operational inconvenience, and refused to recommend replacing an expensive unit until vibration tests and maintenance history confirm the cause. "What if senior leadership demands a decision by noon?" Claire asked. "Then I give senior leadership the safest decision the evidence supports by noon," Ethan said. "Urgency can shorten a meeting. It can't be allowed to invent facts." No one wrote for a moment. The final part of the interview was a walk through the building's service levels. Samuel met them near the freight elevators. He looked surprised to see Ethan. "You came back. So did the jacket." Samuel laughed. They inspected the loading area, mechanical rooms, electrical panels, and maintenance workshop. Ethan asked the technicians about overtime, spare parts, inspection schedules, and which problems kept returning. At first, the answers were cautious. Then Samuel opened a cabinet filled with paperwork orders. "The digital system closes anything older than 30 days if the department doesn't renew it," he said. "So we keep copies." Daniel stared at the cabinet. "How long has this been happening?" Samuel shrugged. "Long enough to need a cabinet." Ethan pulled out one page, then another. The raised floor strip was not an isolated failure. Small warnings had been disappearing throughout the building. A sticking fire door, a recurring leak above an electrical closet, an emergency light that failed the same monthly test. None was dramatic by itself. Together, They described a company that had become very good at closing reports and less good at closing problems. Claire looked at Ethan. If this were your department, what would you do? He glanced around the workshop. Today, I would verify every safety-related item in this cabinet and assign an owner. And after today, I'd stop measuring the team by how quickly tickets disappear. Daniel folded his arms. What would you measure? Whether the problem returns. Whether the person who reported it receives an answer. Whether technicians have the time and parts to fix it properly. Samuel watched him closely. Ethan placed the papers back inside the cabinet. And once a month, he continued, I would put one of these chairs in the executive safety meeting. Claire looked at the battered chair beside Samuel's desk. For whom? For someone who actually walks the building. After the tour, the panel asked Ethan to wait in a small conference room. 30 minutes passed, then 40. For the first time that day, doubt began to work its way through him. He examined the repaired seam on his sleeve. Maybe he'd been too direct. Maybe mentioning the cabinet had embarrassed the people deciding his future. Maybe companies admired honesty only when it arrived in convenient portions. His phone buzzed. Lily had sent a picture of the purple sun with one new sentence beneath it. Did they listen? Before Ethan could answer, the door opened. Claire and Daniel entered, and Daniel carried a formal offer letter. Mr. Walker, he said, the panel completed the same scoring process we use for every final candidate. Ethan waited. You received the highest technical and leadership score. Some tension left Ethan's shoulders. Daniel placed the letter on the table. We would like to offer you the position of Maintenance Operations Manager, subject to the standard reference and background checks. The salary, schedule, and benefits are listed here. Take the time you need to review them. Ethan read the first page slowly. The number beside salary was more than he had expected. The schedule would allow him to take Lily to school 3 mornings a week. Health insurance began on his first day. He swallowed. This is based on the interview? Asked. Yes, Daniel said. The accident brought your name to the CEO's attention. It did not earn you the job. Claire sat across from him. You were right yesterday, she said. Rewarding you for saving Evelyn would have been easier than admitting we failed before the accident. Today was about the position. What happens next is about whether we fix the failure. Ethan looked again at the offer. I have one request. Daniel leaned forward. Samuel, or another frontline employee, attends the monthly safety review, not as a guest when something goes wrong, as a permanent member. Claire smiled slightly. We added that this morning. Ethan looked up. Samuel chose the chair, she said. For the first time since entering the building, Ethan laughed without restraint. He did not sign immediately. He took the offer home, read every page, and discussed it with Lily over dinner. She asked questions about insurance, vacation days, and whether the office had vending machines. The next morning, Ethan accepted. 3 months later, the marble lobby looked almost the same. The waterfall still ran. Executives still hurried toward elevators. Coffee still crossed the floor in expensive cups. But the raised strip beside the cafe was gone. So was the old ticket system that had erased unresolved warnings. Every report now remained open until the employee who submitted it confirmed the problem had been addressed. Interview cancellations required a written, job-related reason and approval from both recruiting and the hiring department. Human Resources had audited 6 months of rejected applications and invited several qualified candidates back. Melissa Grant received formal discipline and was removed from recruitment leadership. Weeks later, she asked Ethan for a private conversation. I judged you before I knew anything about you, she said. I'm sorry. Ethan accepted the apology, but he did not erase what happened for her. What you do with the next person matters more than what you say to me, he replied. She nodded. I understand. And over time, her actions showed that she did. Samuel's battered chair now stood at the monthly safety table between the security director and the chief operating officer. He complained that the coffee upstairs was too weak, but he never missed a meeting. Maya learned to ask questions. When instructions were unclear or unfair, she no longer hid behind the screen. And Ethan did what he had always done. He arrived early. He learned every technician's name. He asked what was failing before he asked who was responsible. When a repair took longer than expected, he explained why instead of allowing silence to become suspicion. On the wall of his office hung Lily's coffee-stained drawing. The silver star from Evelyn still covered one corner. One Friday afternoon, Ethan was crossing the lobby when he saw a nervous applicant near reception. The young man wore an old brown coat and held a folder with both hands. He glanced at the elevators, then at his shoes, as though deciding whether he had made a mistake by coming. Maya stood. "Good afternoon," she said. "You must be Mr. Alvarez. We've been expecting you." The applicant's shoulders relaxed. "Would you like some water before your interview?" From across the lobby, Ethan caught Maya's eye. She gave him a small nod. No applause followed. No executive made a speech. Most people in the lobby never noticed the moment at all. That was what made it matter. Later, Ethan picked Lily up from school exactly when he had promised. She climbed into the passenger seat and pointed at his repaired jacket. "You still haven't bought a new one. This one has history. It also has a weird sleeve. That is part of the history." She laughed and handed him another drawing. It showed the Kensington building, a tiny figure at the front desk, and dozens of people entering through wide-open doors. At the top, she had written, "Strong people make room for others." Ethan looked at it for a long moment. The company had not changed because one good man performed one brave act. It changed because people were finally willing to examine the choices they had made when they believed nobody would question them. That morning, Ethan had protected a child from boiling coffee. But the harder rescue came afterward. It was the rescue of a promise. Respect was no longer a word on the lobby wall. It was the question Maya asked, the report Samuel could keep open, the honest interview Ethan finally received, and the door held for the next person who might otherwise have been overlooked. Because dignity is not proven by how we treat someone after the world calls them a hero. It is proven by how we treat them before we know what they can do for us. If this story stayed with you, tell us in the comments. Have you ever been judged before someone knew your story? If you believe every person deserves the chance to be heard, share this story, subscribe, and join us for the next one.